This story is based on the true story of 32-year-old Samir. He was on his way home from his office that night. It was his anniversary that day, but he was late to leave the office. At home, his wife Rishima was waiting for him, but his bike wouldn't start. He thought it was time for the bus to arrive, so why not take the bus? As the bus reached the tent, thunderous clouds began to rain in the sky. And soon it started raining very heavily. Samir put his suitcase on his head and waited for the bus. Samir's clothes were getting wet when he was on top of him. The raindrops stopped falling. Samir looked to his side, and a man was protecting Samir from getting wet with half of his umbrella. Samir was very happy to see this, and he smiled at the man. The man was wearing gloves in his hands, a pair of dark glasses over his eyes, and a black hat on his head. So Samir found the man a bit strange to look at. It was then that the man looked at Samir and said, "This world is so strange, isn't it? Somewhere there is rain, somewhere there is dry, somewhere there is life, and somewhere there is death." Samir had no answer to this. He just smiled and shook his head. At the same time, Samir's phone was saved. As soon as he took out the phone from his pocket, his phone slipped from his hand and fell to the ground. As soon as Samir picked up the phone from the ground, he saw something that made his soul disappear. The man standing next to him had no legs, nor were there pads inside the man's shoes. It was as if the man was soaring in the air. The color of Samir's face began to change, but he quietly picked up his phone and started thinking about her feet. Samir thought of moving away from the man, but as soon as he lost his eyesight, he saw that the entire bus tent was now empty. There was no sign of auto around. There was no one else there now except Samir and the man. Samir's condition was deteriorating now. Soon, the rain started getting more intense. They were the only ones standing on that bump in the middle of that storm. Samir was no longer able to see anything due to the rain. He didn't see any bus coming. Samir messaged his wife Rishma and told him to come quickly, explaining his situation. As soon as he wrote this message, Samir heard the man's voice. "It won't be right to call Rishma here, Samir." On hearing this, the ground slipped under Samir's feet. He got out from under that umbrella and started running to the other side of the road. One day, Samir turned around and ran until he stopped seeing the man. Samir was very tired while running. Samir sat on a bench on the roadside. He took his fast-moving mother-in-law back to normal. But then the rain that had been reading over his head from the Agnam stopped again. Samir looked at his side with a frightened look, and the same man was sitting next to him again with the umbrella. Seeing this, Samir's scream came out, and he immediately got up from that bench and ran towards the road again. The road was now foggy due to the rain. The sound of lightning in the sky was stifling Samir's chips. After coming a short distance, Samir stopped again. He looked back again and again. Panting, when he looked in front, he pushed back very hard. And in the flashing light of the lightning, he saw the same man standing in the middle of the crowd. This time, only half of his body was floating in the air. He smiled at Samir and took off his glasses. The man's eyes were completely black and bleeding. Then Samir heard the honking of a bus from behind. Samir turned around and saw a bus coming from behind. Suddenly, a crowd of people also started coming towards that bus. Samir could not see any other way to save his life. He ran to the bus. As soon as that bus came to that stand, everyone started pushing and trying to get into that bus. In the same scuffle, Samir in the midst of that crowd. He had people's feet all over his body, and Samir couldn't do anything. The driver of the bus moved the bus a little forward to lift the crowd, and half of Samir's body jumped under that bus. Samir sat there with a flamboyant voice. Then Rishma reached the location mentioned by Samir from Otto. He told Samir he was seen lying in a pool of blood in the middle of the road. There was no one around him. Rishma hurriedly took Samir to the hospital. Samir's life was shattered, but Samir had always put his feet on the article. He could never walk again. That when Samir told the incident that happened to him, no one believed what Samir had said. But when Rishima saw the news reports related to that bust, so his senses are up. Rishma saw that about 10 years ago, a man had died in a similar case, and since then, every year till date. During the monsoon month, a man is a victim of such an accident. And when giving statements to the police, they are all about a strange black-eyed man. Let's talk. Dishma understood that Samir had also fallen prey to the black-eyed man. A few years later, Samir died due to depression. Now Rishma is in the month of monsoon every year. She goes to that bust in the hope that she will meet the dark-eyed man. Rishma always feels that maybe that black-eyed man might have died under a crowd like this. And now he's taking his word from everyone. Rishma wanted to ask him why he was doing all this. But Rishma has never met that man till date, and probably never will. But what do you think? Who was that man? And why did he choose Samir?